kick off the webinar, if you want to know more about us and what we do and the types of deals that we provide to our investors, check out passiveinvesting.com. You can just join the Passive Investor Club. There, you'll get on a call with myself or somebody from my team, and happy to just hear more about your investing goals, what you're looking to achieve, and to make sure that we're a good fit for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and actually, we'll just leave that up there. That's fine. And dig into the content for today. And so, as I mentioned, Andrew, Director of Investor Relations here at PassiveInvesting.com. And really what that means is I've had the privilege and opportunity to interact with thousands now of our investors, most of them over the phone. And so in 2021 and the beginning part of 2022, I took over 2,000 investor phone calls. So these were folks that filled this Passive Investor Club form out, or came in through another one of our marketing avenues or funnels, and booked an introductory call with me. And so each one of those conversations probably averaged 15 to 20 minutes. And so really have learned a lot about the investor mindset, about how to make those calls most impactful and valuable, how to really adjust my style to make sure that whoever I'm speaking with is getting what they need, and how to maximize that time to build trust. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the mindset going into that, both the mindset of an investor relations person or somebody that's looking to raise capital, as well as the mindset of an LP or a passive investor coming into that call. I'm going to talk about the dynamics of that call, kind of a process or a roadmap that we lead investors through to make sure that they're getting a good comprehensive overview of our group, that we're getting their questions answered, and that they know what the next steps are. Talk a little bit about some of the technology and the processes that we use around that investor call to make that most impactful and efficient, and some of the most commonly asked questions that we get on these calls, as well as questions that almost never get asked, but it's really what the underlying question is. And then want to open it up for questions. So type those into the chat box in real time or stream of consciousness, and then I'll make sure to hit those at the end. So starting out, the mindset going into the call. And so, what you have to understand is, or what somebody that's looking to raise capital has to understand, is that you're effectively being interviewed, right? Unless this person that you're speaking with, this prospective investor, came in through a kind of a trust angle, which would generally be a referral, right? A referral from somebody that they trust and respect. You're going to have to do some trust building, and so really what you want to know is that person's coming in interviewing you, and that they're probably interviewing other sponsors as well. And a lot of times when I have a call with an investor, they're talking to other sponsors that are doing multifamily, they're doing other asset classes or whatever, and they're deciding how they want to allocate that capital. And usually they're going to pick kind of their top 2 or 3 sponsors, and they're going to invest there. And so, they're going to be coming with a list of questions, concerns, experience, etc. So knowing that and being as prepared as possible is very, very important. But that being said, you don't have to know everything. You're never going to. And even after having so many calls, there's still questions that I get asked that I say, hey, you know what? I think this is the answer, or let me get some more color or some more detail on that for you. And so that's just knowing that, hey, you want to be competent and knowledgeable, but you don't need to be you don't need to know it all. And people really respect, actually, when you can say, hey, I want to get you a more accurate or detailed answer there. And then from my mindset and what I look to coach and cultivate my team and really encourage anybody that's looking to raise capital or have these kinds of investor interactions, is that really the mindset for you is, number one, that you're coming in from a position of providing value, right? And so what you're looking to do is not necessarily make the call go exactly the way that you want it to go, whether it's within a certain time limitation or certain information that you feel like is very, very important to share. What you really want to do from the beginning is listen. And there's that old expression that God gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason, and really listening to what they're saying, where they're coming from, asking open-ended questions, and making sure that their concerns and their questions get addressed, because they may not care about something that you think is very important, and conversely, there may be something that's very important to them that you may not think is that big of a deal, or don't typically hit on or address, whatever it may be. And so really coming in with an attitude of service and providing value is very, very important. And then on top of that, there can certainly be, especially if you have not had the practice of having a ton of these calls and don't feel super comfortable, there can certainly be some anxiety about going in, and maybe somebody's going to ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, or maybe I'll feel confident or out of my depth. And you might, but more than likely is if you spent any time educating yourself in this space, and if you are competent, which you should be if you're going to be raising capital for real estate, then you're likely going to know more than about 98% of people you talk to, especially if you are marketing to retail investors. And so knowing that you're coming in as an authority, you're providing value to that person, because not only are you giving them information and insight, but you're also providing them an opportunity to ideally earn a return in a risk-adjusted asset class like multifamily that is going to deliver significantly higher returns and more stable returns than what they could get in the market, or certainly in this market environment, of what they could achieve with a single family home investment as well. So you're providing a service and a value, and you want to make sure that you come at it with that mindset. And also an abundance mindset as well. And all I mean by that is that you don't have to go into every single call desperate. And really what you want to do is focus on making each call as impactful as possible. And you don't need the capital, even though you may feel like you need the capital. You might have a deadline or whatever it may be. You were coming in, providing an opportunity and adding value, and then the right people are going to come to you. In terms of call dynamics, and so basically what we do, and I'll bounce around a little bit here, but we use a software called Calendly. This is basically automates all the scheduling for calls for our team. And so I have a calendar. I've opened up certain slots on there. My investor relations team, Marco and Taylor, who are tremendous, have opened up slots there as well. And so when somebody comes to our site or through one of our marketing platforms, they're ultimately, if they haven't had a call with us before, they're going to land on that Calendly page and have availability to schedule for a day and a time that works best for them. From there, everything is automated, from calendar invites to reminders to it showing up on our calendar, so we know who to call and when. So it's really a great tool and resource that we utilize. It saves us a lot of time and allows people to schedule calls when it works best for them. And then basically what we do is when it's time, we call the investor, that new investor lead. And really what we're looking to do is take them through a roadmap. And basically what that roadmap is that, first of all, we want to know about them. I want to know who they are. I want to know what they do for work. I want to hear a little bit about their investing experience. And I want to get to know a little bit about them personally, whatever they care to share. But really what I want to know is what they're after. What's their why? What do they do? Do they want to retire early? Do they want to build a foundation for their family? Are they looking for, financial freedom, passive income? Are they more risk averse? Are they looking for capital appreciation, whatever, or capital preservation? So really just asking them some open-ended questions about who they are, kind of about their life. And what that does is when you're on these calls, you have a lot of resources that you can draw from. There's a lot of ways that you can go and take the call. And so what I do and what my team does in those first few minutes is we're listening for if they're concerned about interest rates, if they're getting an idea of kind of what stage of life they're in, if they're bullish on a certain asset class, if they've had a bad experience before, whatever it may be, just really getting a sense for who they are and what their what their concerns are, what their goals are, and making sure we speak to those. And then from there, generally what we're going to do is we're going to do, once we have some basic information about them and kind of get a sense for who they are, what their goals are, what their concerns are, then we're going to do a pretty standard elevator pitch, if you will. And what we're going to do in that time is we're going to cover who. Who is a huge part of this call. And a lot of people think that, oh, it's about the deal and it's about the returns and how much money they're going to make. And yeah, it is, but it isn't. Because really at the end of the day, especially with a passive investment like this, they are giving over control. And so whether they know it or not, what they really want to know, and this is kind of the question that most people won't ask, but is underlying all the due diligence questions that they're going to ask is, can I trust you? And are you competent? And so really the way that the trust is earned, right? You don't just instantly build trust. You can build rapport, but you don't instantly build trust, but you can instantly build credibility on the competence side. And that is by coming in, knowing what you're talking about, and having good resources and being personable and present and engaged on that call, knowing your product, right? Knowing the markets that you're in, knowing your value proposition, knowing the dynamics of your team, knowing your track record, knowing your numbers. All those things are very, very basic and important. And then just the trust comes, and you can't force it. And the reason for that is, and we see this all the time, when we get a referral. Referrals oftentimes are instant investors. Maybe they want to have a 5-minute phone call to answer some basic questions. Oftentimes they'll just invest right away. But if it's somebody that just heard about you from a Google search or a podcast or whatever it may be, then they may take some more time to build trust, and that's okay. You just continue to consistently communicate with them through some of the systems and funnels that I'll talk about here in a second. But really, what you're looking to establish in that first call is competence, and then you're building the foundations of trust there. So we're doing an elevator pitch. We're talking about who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, what we've done. So let's see who. We're going to talk about the leadership. I'm going to talk about the principles of the company and our team, their background, the why. Hey, why did we start this business? What was the driver for that? What's our mission? And our mission at passiveinvesting.com is to build wealth alongside our investors for the long term, or for decades to come. And then we talk about our outlook, right? What we do, what asset classes we're investing in, what markets we're investing in, why we've chosen those, how we're underwriting, our value proposition. Because one of the other questions, especially for investors that maybe have just jumped into this, or they're interviewing a bunch of different sponsors, is what makes you different? Right? What's your value proposition versus XYZ syndicator in Texas or New York or whatever it may be. So that's very, very important to dig into. It doesn't have to be something super, super dramatic or markedly different, but it's the amalgamation, to use a big word, of the different factors that make you unique. And so for us, we have a very, very robust leadership team that has very distinct backgrounds and skill sets that are very, very complementary. We go after institutional quality assets. We're in asset classes like car washes, that a lot of other people have not jumped into yet. And then communication is a big one for us, right? So when you kind of factor all these different things together, you can really create a unique opportunity for the investor. And then from there, so intro, get to know them. We're going to give them kind of an elevator pitch of who we are, why we exist, what we do. And then we're going to dig into their questions, right? So they might have some questions about a specific asset. They might want to know about the track record. They might want to know about reporting. They might want to know about your worst deal or best deal. But probably the top 10 questions that we get asked on the phone, that you will as well if you're looking to raise capital and have these types of investor interactions, is what's your track record? Right. So full cycle deals, how many have you done? What are the returns been? Communication is huge. And we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of the systems here, but a lot of times people want to know about communication, how often you're communicating, who their point of contact is, how often do you pay distributions, What states are you investing in? Or what areas are you investing in? What asset classes are you investing in? Have you ever lost money? Have you ever done a capital call? Those types of questions, and they're all really pretty straightforward. It's very rare that we get a call where somebody really wants to deep dive the underwriting. You'll get calls about fees, things like that. So they're pretty straightforward questions that you're going to get on a typical investor phone call. A lot of times people think that they're going to have to know what's on page 74 of the PPM or I don't know, something very esoteric or very specific and detailed, and generally that's not the case. And then when you do get those questions, it's a great learning experience to supplement or augment your knowledge. So we've done the intro where we get to know the investor. We've done the elevator pitch. We've dug into their questions. And one of the things that I find really powerful with questions is, whenever possible, answer with a story. And the reason for that is that people remember stories more than they remember facts. And so if you can, like sometimes people will ask about, well, the car wash is a great example. We just launched another car wash offering, and you know, I've had multiple investors say, like, well, how are you, where are these revenue growth assumptions coming from? And is there really this much opportunity, et cetera, et cetera? And I can say yes, and let me tell you why. And I had the privilege of going out with our car wash team on site at an acquisition a couple months ago, and I got to spend about a day and a half on site working with the operations crew, selling car wash memberships, going around the community and talking to folks about us, being in new ownership over this asset. And it was so valuable because I saw the opportunity. I saw how just taking a little bit of time to sell a membership, how impactful that was in the numbers. I saw all the operational upside. I saw all these different things. And then I was able to, really speak with authority to those questions. And so facts are great, but if you can tie those together in a story or an example or something that's going to stick with somebody, I find that to be very powerful and impactful. And then kind of once you've gotten through those questions, then the way that I will wrap up is I set expectations. And really what you want to do here, this is all part of the trust building as well. And so when we're on that call, we're going to get their basic information, and we're also going to get their mailing address as well, because we want to send them something to follow up in the mail. We want to send them something physical to get another touch, if you will. I'm going to send them a follow-up email with a whole bunch of information where they can deep dive into our principles and the three managing partners, our team, our opportunities, some educational content that we've put together. And then I'm also going to send them my contact card via text. And so, I just basically will just send them my contact card, which has all my information, passiveinvesting.com, et cetera, and then say, please reach out anytime. And that's what I say to every single person that I interact with. And I have now thousands of people on my phone, and sometimes people do it, but more often they don't. But just having that call, and then after that call, they're going to get 3 points of contact. They're going to get a text right away. They'll get an email pretty shortly thereafter, and they'll get something in the mail within a week. And so really the way I wrap up that call is I say, hey, when we get off the call here, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then I do that, and that's the trust building component of it. And then from there, they're going to be in our funnel. And so they're going to see deals, they're going to see monthly updates, they're going to see opportunities, et cetera, and continue to get those, the touches is what we call them, making sure that they're hearing from us on a regular enough basis that over time, trust is built and an investment is made. Let's see here. So we talked about investor mindset. We've talked about call dynamics. We talked a little bit about the tech. I told you we use Calendly. We also use Active Campaign as well. That's kind of our back-end CRM. That's how we're taking notes and how we're communicating with investors on different deals. We talked about the most commonly asked questions. And now, what questions do you have for me about call dynamics, about passiveinvesting.com, about anything that you would like to know? Got to be at least one question out there of the 50 2 participants in this webinar. Do you do a warm-up campaign? Do you mean prior to the call? No, not necessarily. Like we don't have that. They'll get, once they sign up for the Passive Investor Club, they'll get an email welcoming them. But we really want to have the first interaction, or one of the first interactions, be that phone conversation. That we find that to be very impactful. And another thing too is we want to make sure, as I'm sure every single one of you knows, we all get plenty of emails. And so we want to make sure that we have different levels of investor sophistication that we talk to, right? Everybody from somebody that's never invested passively before to somebody that's in 30 LP deals and is an active operator on their own. And so for that reason, we don't have a standard warm-up campaign, but we have ongoing communication, obviously. Let's see here. Got a lot of questions revolving around depreciation and tax benefits, and how do you approach those questions for brand new investors? Yes, I always do the caveat that I'm not a CPA and I don't play one on the phone or on the internet, and then I will just answer very broadly. And so basically what we tell investors is, depending on the asset class, we'll give them a range of what they can expect their year one depreciation to be on that K1, because we do cost segregation studies and take advantage of the bonus and the accelerated depreciation. So, but beyond that, I just say check with your CPA for how those tax benefits will apply to your specific situation. And is there a specific time of day or day of the week where you have found the calls to be most engaging? No, but I think one thing to keep in mind is there was a season of time before I was fortunate to have the two my two IR team members, Marco and Taylor, that I was taking upwards of 50 calls a week. And that by the end of the week, my voice would get very, very tired. But I think one of the key things to remember from from investor relations perspective is, if you're blocking out certain days to take calls, or you have call back to back calls, keeping your energy up is very, very important. And so really what I find is that people are going to really kind of mirror your energy and your excitement. And so I'll if I start to get tired or just my brain or my voice, whatever, I'll have a cup of tea, I'll do some push-ups, I'll stand and walk, whatever it is to kind of keep that energy and that engagement up. But we just try to make sure that when somebody comes in through our platform, that they're going to be able to get on a call with one of our investor relations folks within at least 2 weeks, since we have a number of slots open. So it's really going to do whatever's best for that person. How do we ensure they're accredited or not? In the initial process, it's just a self-validation. So they just tell us they're accredited. But then when it comes to actually investing in a deal, our process is that basically once somebody's ready to invest, and they make a soft commitment, and then they fill out the PPM. In our PPM, they have a section where they select how they would like to be accredited. The main way that we use, that most people utilize, is a service called Parallel Markets, and they're great. It's just a kind of it's a fee that we pick up for somebody that wants to invest and deal with us. They go to their page, give some basic information, upload some basic files, and then Parallel Markets will verify them as accredited. How do you handle the question if they are a qualified investor? I think that's answered with the accredited investor question. What specific questions do you ask to get them to open up about their personal story goals? Yes, I'll usually say that really what I'll do is I'll let them know, hey, I'm glad to be on a call with you today, and I'll really say, hey, we'd really like to get to know a little bit more about you. Can you fill me in on what you do work-wise? what any personal information you'd like to share, specifically kind of what your goals, your investing goals are, and then any real estate investing experience you have. And then some people are just an open book, and I'll get a a short biography of them and their entire family, and I don't need to ask any further questions. And some people are very short and to the point, and I try to respect that, because for some people they're more conversational, they're more engaging. You can dig into different personality types and see how different people interact. So it really depends on the person. But if they haven't given me just the basic information that I need, then I'll just press a little bit more, and I'll just say, yeah, hey, can you tell me just a little bit more about what you do work-wise, or a little bit more about your kind of family, personal life, and what some of your goals are. And so it just really depends on the person. Do you show a PowerPoint on these calls with a potential partner? No PowerPoint. It's always on the phone unless somebody requests a Zoom. See, these are always phone calls. I don't ever hold my phone up to my ear. My AirPods. So these are almost always phone calls unless somebody requests a Zoom. So we send them a lot of follow-up information that's going to give them a lot of detail. But no, we find that for most people, they're busy. Maybe they're stepping away from work or time with family or kids, whatever it is, to take a call. And so if you add that additional step of, okay, this needs to be a Zoom call, and then I think you're going to count a lot of people out. And the phone conversation, I think, gives it a more personal nature as well. Seems like a lot of operators have a campaign, but don't leave enough time for investors to make a decision before closing. What is a good length of time to give investors to do their due diligence, get funds, etc.? Oh, I don't know. I mean, we try to give people like 3 or 4 weeks. And so we launch a deal is basically as soon as we have a signed PSA, we have an unbelievable marketing team that gets the content and the offering memorandums and everything ready very, very quickly. So we want to make sure that they have that full offering memorandum, that we're doing the webinar where we're deep diving into that deal, answering questions. And then from the time that we have them sign the PPM, usually we ask for funding within a few days after signing the PPM. But we try to give people as much time as possible, make sure that their questions are answered. And so we have a whole, full-time investor services and investor relations team to that effect. Don't know if that answered your questions, but I would say due diligence, 2 weeks. I don't know why you would need more than that. And then funds, maybe another week. How many times per year do your investors get a touch from your organization? Great question. So it's got to be 40 plus. They're getting monthly mailed newsletters. They're getting monthly email updates. They're getting notifications about new deals. They're likely going to get at least one call, text, something from our investor relations team throughout the year. If they're active investors, their monthly distributions are a touch as well. So probably 50 plus. Are you filling in form questions as you're on the phone? Yeah. So I'll have Active Campaign open, and as they're talking, I'm filling in all the information that I need to know about them. What info is prompted when somebody signs up for the call with your team? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So I'll just show you. So I'll just put my name in here. So name, email, phone. Am I accredited? You better believe it. Am I a US citizen? Proudly. Say 500K or more. Say a webinar. And so this is all the information, and the only required information that we're asking for is name, email, phone. Are you accredited US citizen? How much you plan to invest? How did you hear about us? When they click this, then they get routed to a calendar. Now, if this was you logging in or a new investor, it would show my whole team's calendar, but because it's mine, I've gone to this page so many times, it's showing that my calendar is totally booked, which it is, but we have tons more times in May between the whole IR team. So that's what they see. But I'll show you what the call scheduling process looks like. So say they want to do this, confirm 10:30 a.m., and then they're looking for the name, email, cell phone number, how'd you hear about us, and then their physical mailing address. How do you use Active Campaign to track potential investors? Do you tag them, notes feature? Do you think special, maybe some automations? Yeah, so Quentin, we probably only use right now about 50% of the power of Active Campaign. We're starting to build in some tags and some deals because we really want to get a better handle on how quickly and how many new investor leads are into investors. So Active Campaign has a lot of automation and tools there, but we could certainly do a better job of using them. But right now we use tags, we use notes. So everybody we have a call with we have robust notes. We're tagging them with different, based on who's kind of their IR person. And then of course they're getting tagged when they invest. Most common specific questions about investments you get asked. Most common specific questions. I mean, returns is a big one, target returns. Right now, we're getting a lot of questions about interest rates, about cap rate expansion, about debt, because obviously rates are going up. So we're moving away from, or not looking at as much floating debt, looking at more fixed rate debt. Kind of worst case scenario sometimes, timeline for the investment, when do distributions start? People always want to know when distributions start. Yeah, I think those are some of the, my dog wanted to come be a part of this. Those are some of the main ones. How do you handle people that have soft committed to invest, but then become unresponsive? Respectfully and firmly. And so we have a 3 strikes rule. And so basically if somebody soft commits and then does not invest, either they become unresponsive or they back out for one reason or another. We understand that once, we understand that twice. But after that happens 3 times, then they're going on a list. And so basically what we'll do is we'll usually set a deadline and say, hey, we need to know if you're going to be moving forward here. There's other investors that would like to be invested, because we usually oversubscribe on our deals. So respectfully, but also firmly. And let's see here. Who will send out information to new contacts? Larry. Larry, I don't know if I understand your question. Jonathan, how does your approach change with individual investors compared to institutional investors, i.e. family offices? Yeah, Jonathan, that's a great question. So it really is going to, it's gonna depend on, really we're not having, I guess. So the question about the family offices. So this has really all been geared towards individual passive and LP retail investors, if you will. A family office is going to be very, very different. You're going to have, if a family office wants to invest with you, you'll have an introductory call, and they're going to want to know, more about the track record. They're going to want to know more about the principles. They're going to want to know more about the fees, and they're probably going to want to see an underwriting model. And then when they actually get ready to invest with you, a family office can invest, I don't know, more than your average LP generally, right? And so it's going to be finding out, are they coming in as an LP retail investor? Are they wanting special terms, whatever it may be? But a family office is generally going to be a lot more granular. They're going to deep dive the underwriting. They're going to want to know more about the debt. They're going to want to know your debt brokers. They're going to want to have more of a background on the principles. They might be asking for preferential terms, things like that. So it's going to be, it's just going to be a lot more granular and detailed. Regarding underwriting calculations, if these are available on a spreadsheet, do you provide the spreadsheet if requested to do so by the new potential passive investor? Yes, so we do. We have internal underwriting, which has a ton of proprietary information that generally we're not going to share. We do a basic pro forma in our offering memorandum, but if somebody wants to see some more information, we create a version for the investors that's going to have more detail for them to review, so they can see exactly how we arrived at the numbers that we did. Just starting out, is there an MFI on YouTube on setting up a beginner system for 506B syndications mostly? Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to do a little bit of research, but we've talked about that on MFIN for sure. Jonathan Tonks, hey man, do you create targeted advertising to any high net worth investors, CEOs, elite business execs, or are all your investors seeking you out through your marketing content? That's a great question. So to this point, yeah, it really has been incoming. We haven't done We haven't done a targeted specific marketing to high net worth investors, CEOs, execs, et cetera. But it's certainly something that I think that we are looking at. I don't think we are looking at. I know we're looking at it, and we're certainly looking to continue to cultivate more of those relationships in addition to the outreach and the marketing platforms and avenues that we're already utilizing. Let's see here. Well, all right, everybody. This was great. Really appreciate all your questions and engagement. I think this is supposed to be 30 minutes. We're going on 45 right now. Again, just a friendly reminder about MFIN Con. I would love to see you all there. It's going to be a really tremendous event with a lot of great speakers, as well as the entire passiveinvesting.com team will be there. So a lot of opportunities, not only to interact with Shaq and Barbara Corcoran and Jocko Willink and a ton of very, very experienced operators, capital raisers, property managers, podcasters in all different aspects of the business. But then our entire team will be there and will be accessible and available to you to answer questions and get to know you. And you can learn more about what we've done and how we've have over 1,800 investors active in our different deals and how we've raised over $400 million now. So thank you all so much for your time, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.